So, movie start with Min, a 5-year-old naughty girl, was trying to sleep when she suddenly heard someone in her room. Realizing she might be in danger, she shouted for her mother, "Wary like Momi Momi." By the time Wary came out of her room, Min's door had shut on its own, and everything in Min's room had vanished. Something was flying in the air, which terrified Min. She climbed down from her bed, but then something appeared in front of her. We didn't see what it was, but Min's scream filled the scene, and the story shifted to a few days earlier. A few days ago, Wary was in Bangkok with her abusive husband, Yat Chai. To protect Min and herself, Wary decided to leave Bangkok and move to her mother's family home in Tak Wapua. The home, called Zaruk Anand House, was old and surrounded by rubber tree forests. On their way, Wary made sure Min stayed hidden in the car at a gas station to avoid being captured on CCTV. At the same time, Wary bought groceries while carefully avoiding cameras. Yat Chai kept calling her, but Wary, scared, threw her phone onto the road. When they arrived at the old house, Wary noticed it was worn out, with signs of decay, like a fallen chandelier. She took Min to her childhood room and told her to stay inside. Soon there was a knock at the door. It was Nate, the caretaker of the house, who delivered groceries and a new phone Wary had ordered. Nate was missing an eye and mentioned the frequent rains and power issues in the area. Wary remembered there was an old generator in the garage but wasn't sure if it still worked. While talking to Nate, Wary felt someone might be upstairs, but she didn't want Nate to know about Min, so she quickly changed the subject. Upstairs, Min found an old book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, in a closet. Meanwhile, Nate went back to his house nearby, as no one else lived close to Zaruk Anand House. Wary later scolded Min for almost being seen, but Min denied going to the window. While unpacking, Wary hid a gun, cash, and other items in the house. She then noticed old blood-stained curtains in the bathroom, raising more questions about the house's past. That night, during a power outage, Min saw a scary figure with glowing red eyes behind Wary. Wary dismissed it as Min's imagination and took her to the generator room to restore power. To cheer up Min, who was bored and lonely in the house, Wary played hide-and-seek with her. At one point, Wary hid under the bed, and when she came out, she saw Min wearing a strange mask she didn't have before. Wary followed the masked Min into a room, where she was startled to see her drawing something. Suddenly, the real Min appeared without the mask, confusing Wary. The room turned out to be Wary's mother Panita's room, filled with her belongings, including photos and paper dolls Wary and her mother used to play with. Min liked the dolls and kept them to play with. That night, Min felt as if someone was standing near her bed, but no one was there. The next morning, Wary saw the masked girl again, but she disappeared quickly. Wary thought she was imagining things. To distract themselves, Wary took Min to a nearby beach where Panita used to take her as a child. While there, Nate called and confirmed that Zaruk Anand House was considered haunted by the locals, which was why people avoided it. This made Wary and Min even more uneasy, as they both felt like someone else was in the house. Wary came home with Min after a trip. However, Min felt uneasy, as if someone was watching her from behind a tree near Wary's house. Min wanted to leave, but Wary convinced her to stay, as she herself was escaping her unhappy marriage with her husband, Yuta Chai. Min reluctantly agreed, but her mood remained sour since she wasn't used to living this way. One night, while looking through Panita's belongings, Wary found a mask resembling one worn by a girl who looked like Min. As Wary was pondering this, a frightened Min came to her for comfort. Wary reassured her, and they ate together. During dinner, Min saw a demonic figure, screamed in fear, and ran to her room. Wary tried to calm her down, putting Min to bed. Later that night, Wary woke up hearing Yuta Chai's voice and had flashbacks of their fights, including the day she shot at him in desperation. She began crying, but her thoughts were interrupted by Min's screams from her room. Wary rushed to Min's room, where objects were flying in the air, just like in the beginning of the story. She called out to Min but couldn't enter the room. Suddenly, Min fell from her bed, and the demonic figure appeared before her. Min vanished into the closet, and everything in the room returned to normal. When Wary finally got inside, Min was gone, as if she had disappeared into thin air. The next day, a pregnant police officer named Faye received news of Min's disappearance and came to Wary's house. Faye began taking photos of Min's belongings and asked for a picture of her. Wary explained that she had thrown away her phone and had no photos. Faye questioned Wary about her husband, but Wary only gave vague details, making Faye suspect that Wary had fled from him. When Faye visited Min's room, she found it messy and scattered. Wary explained what had happened the previous night, but Faye, like most people, found the supernatural story hard to believe. Soon Faye's colleagues, Tay and Off, arrived to assist. Wary told them that Min had seen someone near the tree outside the house but found no one when she approached it. Faye then noticed blood on Wary's dress, which Wary explained was from when she fell near the tree while searching for Min. This made Wary suspect that someone near the tree might have caused Min's disappearance. Nate, the house servant, also came to check on Min but revealed that Wary had told him nothing about her. The police were puzzled because they had no evidence Min ever existed. Faye gave Wary her number, instructing her to call if she found proof of Min's existence. Back at the station, Faye started doubting Wary's story and wondered if she was mentally unstable and imagining Min Tay, reviewing the case, thought the same after finding no sign of Min in CCTV footage from the places Wary had visited on her way to the house. However, Faye empathized with Wary, as she was pregnant and understood a mother's emotions. She started preparing Wary's case file but was interrupted by her boss, Chief Denai. It turned out Faye's unborn child was Denai's, and he already had a wife and daughter. Faye felt guilty for their relationship, as it seemed unlikely Denai would leave his family for her. Faye decided to investigate Wary's story further. She searched the hospital database and discovered that Wary indeed had a daughter named Min. However, it was still unclear whether Min had actually come with Wary to the house. Suspicious of Nate, the driver, Faye and Tay visited his home to check for clues but found nothing suspicious. Nate wasn't hiding anything. While talking to Nate, they learned that he had worked as a driver for Wary's mother, Panita, long ago. Nate showed Faye old photos from those days when his eyesight was perfect. Curious, Faye asked about his eye injury, and Nate revealed a terrifying incident from 30 years ago. One night, an unknown woman attacked Panita's house. Nate fought back, but during the struggle, she stabbed his eye with a piece of glass, leaving him blind in one eye. Panita rescued Nate, but the mysterious woman fell from the second floor and died. Later, the police recovered her burned body. This tragic incident led Panita to leave the house forever and move to Bangkok with Wary. This explained why the house was abandoned for years and rumored to be haunted. Meanwhile, Wary continued searching for Min in the house. In Panita's room, she found a picture of a man and a young girl. Just as Wary began to wonder about it, Faye called her to the police station. At the station, Faye showed Wary a photo she had found. To Wary's shock, the picture wasn't of Min but of Wary as a child, taken from Nate's photo album. This raised a chilling possibility. Maybe Wary hadn't brought Min with her at all. Perhaps, in her grief, Wary had imagined Min as a reflection of her own childhood. Wary then remembered the day she pointed a gun at Yuta Chai. She had only fired the gun to scare him, aiming at a closet. Min, who had been hiding in the closet out of fear, wasn't hit by the bullet. Wary insisted that Min was alive. Faye decided to contact Yuta Chai to confirm Min's existence with a photo. When Yuta Chai learned about Min's disappearance, he initially lashed out at Wary but then sent Min's photo. After seeing the picture, Faye and Tay were convinced that Min was real. They organized a search party with the villagers and the forest department to look for her in the nearby woods. Despite their efforts, Min couldn't be found. It began to rain heavily, and Faye, being pregnant, was struggling. Wary took her back to the house for shelter. While exploring the house, Faye noticed a locked room that Wary had never allowed anyone to enter. This room was also locked from the outside. Faye broke the lock and discovered a hidden staircase leading to a basement. As they descended, the same eerie shadow that Min had always described appeared behind them. In the basement, They found machines indicating it had been a secret lab. Many machines were broken, and the floor was littered with dried blood and shattered glass. Neither Faye nor Wary could comprehend what had happened. Since Wary had been very young when her mother moved her to Bangkok, she had no knowledge of the lab. They uncovered another machine covered with cloth. When they removed it, they saw a pod used for human experiments. It appeared that someone had been inside it and had broken out, causing the glass shards and blood on the floor. Faye immediately called for reinforcements, and more police arrived to investigate the basement thoroughly. Wary and Faye discovering strange black burn marks on the ceiling above a mysterious pod in the basement. These marks were also found in other parts of the house, leading up to the drain. They believe the marks were caused by heat rays from the pod and connect them to the mysterious disappearance of Min. The marks are confirmed to have appeared during Panita's time, 30 years ago, as the house had been locked ever since. This suggests something terrifying happened in Zaruk Anand house, a mystery that is about to unfold. Later, Wary visits the doctor for a scheduled appointment. Outside the clinic, she meets Denai, who had come to check on her out of concern for their unborn child. Despite his care, Denai's refusal to acknowledge the child as his in public deeply worries Faye. She returns home, burdened by thoughts of her uncertain future and Denai's denial. Meanwhile, Wary is equally troubled, grieving for Min. The forest department calls off the search for Min in the forest, leaving Wary heartbroken. That night, as Wary bathes, the house lights flicker ominously. She feels an unsettling presence and immediately calls Faye, sharing her fears. Holding her revolver for safety, Wary spots a masked figure resembling Min and follows it to the same closet from before. As she approaches, something strange happens. The closet seems to pull her in and Wary vanishes. When Wary regains consciousness, she finds herself in the past. The lab in her basement is intact, and standing before her is her mother, Panita, who looks at her in shock. The story then hints at revealing Panita's perspective, promising to explain the horrifying events from 30 years ago. However, this shocking twist will be explored in Part 2.